Hello YouTubes, this is Grimweird, coming at you with more Enigmatica 2 Expert Mod Pack playthrough action for Minecraft 1.12.2. As always, we are joined by our lovely avatar, Zombie Steve, and one of the things that was on my to-do list between last episode and this was to figure out the discovering Golemancy thing. It said we needed to scan a golem. Now, in Biomes of Plenty, or whatever pack or stuff this happens, there were all sorts of golems out in the countryside. There was a nature golem I tried, that didn't work. There was a gemstone golem I tried that did not work. But then I did a quick Google search, and it said that snow golems and or the golems that are in villages might work for opening that up. And so I did remember that there was a village down south that had an iron golem in it. And so I came down in here, and this feller did work. I scanned him with my thermometer and was able to open up the discovering Golemancy. So that's a one chore done. So yeah, I'm going to continue on with my research, and I'll be back in a moment. Right, I am back and I am making progress. So one of the things I'm learning here is that I was really trying to get ahead of myself on Thaumcraft. I knew the Thaumonomicon gated Thaumcraft a lot, but I didn't realize just how much it gated it these days. So it turns out that a lot of this stuff is pretty easy and self-explanatory if I actually unlock things first. So for instance, this one wanted me to have one of each of the main crystals in my inventory. And as soon as I did this, it opened up stage 2, where it tells me that that all I have to do is get these other crystals. And it opened up a thing that allowed me to turn nether quartz into quartz slivers, and then just throw stuff in the bucket or throw stuff in the crucible, and then so like for instance, it opened up these recipes where you throw a quartz sliver into a thing that has some Victus in there, and it pops out a Victus crystal. So as you can see now, I have I'm working on the stage 2 of this. I have a bunch of these crystals. I'm still getting a Victus and a Modus and a Metallum. But it's pretty straightforward now that I know now that I've reached that spot in the Thaumonomicon. For instance, if I throw in some bone and then throw in some quartz slivers, and when there's not enough in there to use up anymore, then I just get my thing back. And I'm going ahead and making extras of things like Mortuous, because I've seen my research table ask me for some of this stuff, and now I know how to make it. So that's what I'm doing right now. As you can see, I brought some water in here because I am burning through the water as I do this. And my inventory is getting a bit full here. So I'm going to go back out and let's see, what do I need now? I still need Modus. Modus is about movement, and if I recall correctly, feathers is a good source of that. That's from like when I played Thaumcraft 2 or Thaumcraft whatever it was 4 or 5 years ago. So if we click on this symbol for Modus and then go to the secondary tab and then scan down through here, I'll bet we see feathers somewhere down here. But we can look for other things here as well. And I'm just looking for cheap stuff that's going to be easy to do. An aluminum fence is probably pretty easy, but it comes with a lot of baggage. Let's see, what else? Copper cable is just 2 things. So we really only need, I think, 2 essence to get 1 crystal to pass this, but copper cable is definitely looks like an option. an easy option. Plastic is 5 and 5. That also looks like an excellent option. The insulated copper cable gives me 6 and 6, so that would be a nice round number, since I think each crystal takes 2. So maybe I'll do one of those. In fact, I might have one of those in my bag. Oh no, I bet you I put them away. Oh, nope, I do. Nice. So let's go ahead and do one of these. So we're going to throw that in. And as expected, whoops. Oh, I don't have the room to pick them up. Throw a couple of those things in there. So as expected, that gave us 3 Modus crystals and 3 Instrumentum crystals, since that one copper cable was 6 and 6. So we are good to go for that. And that now leaves me with a very full inventory and still needing Metallum and Mortuous. I thought I had Mortuous, but let's double check that. Oh, I'm out of range, so for my inventory. So I'm going to go back on outside and clean up my inventory a bit and find something that gives me Metallum, which is probably going to be something simple like an iron plate or something for metal. Oops. Let's see. So let's go ahead and throw most of this in there. And then we want Mortuous. So again, if we click on the second tab and scroll down, yes, we should have gotten that from bone. Am I sure I don't have that? I could have sworn I had that because I did some bone. And now I don't have any of it because I put it all away. Gosh darn it. Okay. Well, it does not look like I have it. How did I not get it? I got some Draco from some Dragon Bones. Got some Victus. Mortuous from... Let me pull Bones out again and just double check. Says we get 5 from them. So I guess we'll try them again. Maybe I just forgot to put them in because I was doing a bunch of stuff at once. And then Metallum. 2 L's. 2 L's. And that's going to be something like... Oh, good gravy. There's tons of stuff here. Tell you what, we're going to go ahead and do this again, and we're going to scroll up to get to the bottom of the list. Alright, so things that are 2 would be things like ultimate mechanical pipes. Actually, I think I have some of those that I don't really need since I'm using mostly Ender IO now. Let's see. Maybe I don't. All right, what else was there? Iron lattice. I wonder what that is. It's probably pretty cheap to make. Do I have any mechanical pipe? I do have mechanical pipe, and I probably won't use it since I use mostly the Ender IO stuff now. And it does have 5 metallum on it, so we'll do a couple of those. So let's head back in and see if we can bust out what I think is the last couple. So let's try some bones real quick. So I got 2 more choice and 2 Victus, so that should take care of that. And then for metallum, throw one of those in there. That got me 2 metallum. Alrighty. Let's go check and see if we've made it past this checkpoint. Tip number 15, number 9, Thaumcraft needs and will prevent flux from spreading to your base. I knew I got that from somewhere. So tip 59 is do your Thaumcraft in there so you don't flux your base. And that's a tip that I am going to take since I obviously don't know Thaumcraft. I never did know Thaumcraft well, but what I did know was probably Thaumcraft 2 or maybe 3. So things are different. All right, so let's go ahead and put that and that away. And let's go ahead and call up our Viz crystals. And I forget which ones we need in our inventory to do this, but I'll just pick up all the secondary ones. And hopefully that'll take care of it. Are we good? Yes, yes, please, please. Complete. Nice. Oh, and now I need to go back to the research table and get another theory alchemy. And I need to make an arcane workbench. But now I can make an arcane workbench. So I am perfectly happy with that. Alright, I've managed to break down all my samples of primary and secondary into a liquid state. Blah, blah, blah. Luckily, extracting essentia from objects is a lot in common with smelting of metals. Blah, blah, blah. An Essentia Smeltery. Yes, that's what I want, an Essentia Smeltery. Thank you very much. Alrighty, so our next step is getting another theory alchemy out of our tables. So I'm going to work on that, and I will be back in a moment when we have made more progress. Alright, time back, and we're picking up a little speed here in Thaumcraft. Now that I'm sort of working with the book instead of against it, and actually, taking time to unlock things before I try to rush ahead doing things hard ways, things are starting to get much easier. So we take a look at this. We finished. I got some more alchemy theory with the table. That was far easier to get once I had all of this stuff, because things would come up saying, throw in 2 Victus and some Modus and, get 45 points of alchemy. Well, obviously that's easy now that I got all this stuff. And so getting the alchemy research that we need, the theory research that we needed, was a piece of cake. So now we just need to make the Essentia Smeltery. So I went and made some alchemical brass and turned it into brass plates. I went and took a cauldron and threw some Salus Mundus on it to turn it into a crucible. This is going to consume a little bit of Ignis, but boom, now we've got this bad boy, Essentia Smeltery. So now we should be complete here. Okay, so this process isn't very efficient, and a small amount of Essentia is converted into flux roughly 20% of the time. The next step in the process is to take the essential slurry and distill it using an arcane alembic. Alright, so now we probably need to make an arcane alembic with things like Essentia, we should be able to do all that stuff now. Warded jars, we've opened this up, so we should be able to do all this stuff now. That's good. We've already got the research, the observations for that stuff. Now we need to make these files of things, which I think we can do once we start smelting. Yeah, so here it says the Essentia can then be extracted out of an alembic using files, jars, or more complex means. So we're getting there. So now we need to start making more of this stuff. So I'm going to bust out, I did make extra brass so I can make more plates. This stuff, we have silver wood, so that's no problem. Great wood, we've got great wood, that's no problem. Buckets, we got buckets. So we got everything we need for that. And I'm going to want to make some of these jars too. Do these really need to be all different colors? Hopefully this is any pane of glass, but we can try that real quick. In fact, let's try that real quick so that I know if I have to actually make a bunch of different colored ones. So if we go pane, pull out panes, and then we need slabs, wood slabs. We got some redwood slabs. Let's go see if we can do that real quick. So we are looking for jars, warded jar. Boom. And we're probably going to want several of these. At least several. I think each kind can only hold one type of essence. So, what's the cost for a brain in the jar? Oh, I don't have it unlocked yet. Okay, whatever. Void jar. I'm assuming that's something that you can pump stuff into and just make it go away. Which is a warded jar. Can we make one of those? We can. Let's go ahead and do that too. We'll need one of those. That way we'll make several warded jars for some of the, probably the secondary essences. So a lot of these ones that we created here, the secondary ones, so we'll maybe make, how many was there? Like 9 or 10 jars for that stuff. And then we'll have a void jar for extra stuff just to try and keep from turning my 13 by 13 by 13 pocket dimension into a tainted flux wasteland. So I got no shortage of wood slabs and glass, so it's not going to hurt me to make a dozen of these or so. All right. So I'm out of something. Glass panes. Well, we'll start with 8, and then we'll see how many more we need. All right. So what else do we need here? Was there anything we needed to do here, or is this just all complete? Brass lid brace, void jar, blank labels. I forget what the labels are for. I think those might have been available in before, but let's see what it says here. Warded jars can be placed in the world and are able to store Essentia virtually indefinitely. The enchantment placed on the jars also makes adding or extracting Essentia a breeze. Jars can be filled from an alembic by clicking with the jar directly on the alembic. They can also be filled and emptied using files. What is more, they can make an excellent storage medium for jams and preserves. Nice. Jam. Shift clicking on jars with empty alembics with an empty hand will empty them. All right. So, what, if anything, do we know about the labels? Aha. As long as a jar contains some Essentia, you can attach a jar label to it. This label will lock the jar to that type of Essentia, and it will not be able to accept any other kind of Essentia. Remove the label by shift-clicking. You can place a label in a crafting bench with a file of Essentia to assign an aspect to it. Okay, so that all makes a certain amount of sense. What else does it have to tell us? You can also craft brass lid braces. When used on a jar, they will prevent Essentia from being drawn or placed into the jar by anything other than tubes. Alright, I don't think I need any of those right now, but I could make some labels. So that's going to just be slime, black dye, and paper. We got all that. Let's see, did I throw some... Let's see, ink. Okay, for right this minute, we're going to have to throw a bunch of this back up in here. And let's see, so we got some ink, and we got some paper, and we needed slime. And we'll make a dozen or so labels. Oh, that's normal crafting, not arcane workbench. Good to know. Do not use up my pink slime. Are you insane? Alright, that should be plenty of labels. So now what we can do is we can go take our Essentia Smeltery into our pocket dimension, and I can just start throwing tons of crap in there. I think I will make some more warded jars and have jars for near everything. And then we can start sort of portioning things out into jars as we smelt it. I'd really sort of like to get into the whole tubes things, so I think you can make it automatically go into tubes. So let's see if we can make tubes already. Alright, it looks like I have to make some of these tertiary files of tertiary essence first before it'll let me have access to Essentia tubes. So this is going to be the next thing I probably do, is try to make a file each of these. So I'll set up my Essentia Smeltery. I'll specifically try to just make stuff like this. I'll pull this stuff out with files or jars or jars. And then once I have these 4 files, we should get access to a recipe for Essentia tubes, and then we can set up a whole bank of tubes, or a whole bank of jars with labels on them and tubes going to them, and hopefully get this a lot more automated. Essentia filter, that's the kind of stuff we're probably going to need. Valves, directional tubes. I think some of this stuff was in when I played Thaumcraft 2 or 3 or whatever it was, so I have vague memories of this kind of stuff. It's just not going to let me do it quite yet because I don't think I've got this unlocked, but I just want to look ahead. We're going to need quicksilver drops, which we got. We're going to need glass, which we got. We're going to need alchemical brass nuggets. None of that's too hard. That's not hard. That's not hard. That's not hard. That's not hard. Okay, so we're going to be in business as soon as we open up all these recipes. In business. We'll probably want some of this action too. Alright, so I'm going to stop recording again, and we're going to try and get these 4 files to open up Essentia tubes. and I will be back in a moment. All right, and we are back, and I did make a little progress during the off-camera work. I made the magic tallow, which then asked me to make a few more things. There are some dupe recipes here where you can throw stuff in and dupe it, and some recipes here where you can like throw in something like Essentia and an empty bucket to get a full bucket of lava. So I did a few of those things to get that off the list, and opened up Liquid Death and Everfull Urn. But really what we really want to focus on here is this stuff, because we don't want to be making a lot of flux and a lot of Essentia until we can get the good handling of Essentia going. And for that, the holdup is these files of these 4 things. So let's go ahead and set stuff up. I have an Essentia Smelter. So let's just go ahead and throw that, I guess, about here. And then I went ahead and made a bunch of arcane alembics to stick on top of it. Basically, this allows you to, and it's going to be a pain, isn't it? I need to right click them on there, so I need a stepping stool here. So basically this sort of separates stuff out so you can get a hold of it. So like if you put something in with 3 different types of essence, it'll split the essence out into these 3 different chambers. And because, why not, I went ahead and made 5 of these. Because, hey, why not? That's probably overkill, but I think we'll be able to use those on an advanced setup as well. So might as well do it. I also went ahead and made a couple of arcane bellows, which I believe just speed up the smelting process. Ooh, fancy. Looks like a Pokemon. So I guess the fastest thing to do is to make Elementum and put in here. Let's take a look at that. I did not make any because, quite frankly, at this stage I am only trying to make those 4 vials. But Elementum is basically throwing coal in when you already have that stuff. I'm not going to bother with that. I think you can put stuff like coal in here, which of course I did not bring. So let's pop back out and grab some coal. I did get a bunch of the theory researching done, so I took down all the tables except for the one. Things really sped up once I was able to make the various different types of crystals. But let me go ahead and grab a stack of coal here. I think that will work in the Essentia Smeltery. I don't think it's anywhere near as fast as Elementum, but again, right this moment, all we're really worried about is making those 4 files to open up the research, the rest of the research. And we're literally only going to be making the minimum required to get through the research until we can set up a more advanced smelter with more advanced handling of stuff. The other thing I did, I took a break for a while, and while I was watching TV, I just went ahead and put all my jars through. I made a bunch more jars. There are 39 different types of Viz or V, and so I just went ahead, or Essentias, or whatever you want to call them. So I just went ahead and made 39 jars plus some extras, and I turned them all into void jars. Void jars doesn't void what you put into them, but it will void any excess over and above what you put into them. So like a normal jar, if you put, however much it holds, 250, 255 into it, it will stop taking essence, whereas a void jar will keep taking essence, but it'll just void the extra. And so I just wanted to go ahead and make them all void jars because we're not going to do anything too huge and crazy here. but we do want to make sure that once we start producing viz, that we don't gum up our works by not being able to get rid of the viz that we're creating, the essentia that we're creating. So let's see. Well, it'll take a stack of coal, so that is good. I think the first thing we're going to do, if we take a look at the book here, we want Alchemia, Alienus, Vinculum, and Vitium. And I think the things that I'm going to be using are Cobweb, that bear trap looking thing is, I think that's Vinculum. The looks like a cyan colored flask to the far left on Netherwort is Alchemia, and then the purple swirl of roots or flower parts or whatever is the other Vidia or whatever it is. So we'll be able to get both of those out of Netherwort. And then the Alienus is, I believe, the one that's tin here, the one on the right that looks like sort of a sun with planets around it. So let's go ahead and just throw an ender pearl in there and see what happens. So it's consumed a... Are we done here? So now I got to figure out how to see what's in there. I might need to pull out... Did I bring my gauntlet with me? Maybe that tells me... I don't have a focus in my gauntlets yet, but I think maybe even without a focus, it will allow me to see what's in the Alembics. So let's pop out and grab that bad boy. That's the one problem with these little pocket dimensions. Unless you do some sort of cross-dimensional, quantum singularity, whatchamajigger, you're not going to have access to your ME system in there. All right, but I do have a caster's gauntlet, so let's pull that out and see if that lets us see what's going on here better. All right, no, it does not. Maybe we haven't created anything because maybe this is the time for that. This is the first time I'm using this system. I did something like this, but it's been so long ago that I don't even think it reacts the same way. It's like back then you had a wand, not a gauntlet, and I'll tell you what we hope happened was we hope that we now have 10 Alienus in one Alembic and 15 Modus in another Alembic. So if we click on here, we are hoping, so we got 10 Modus out. That is cool. So now we got to find the Alienus. I don't know where it is. All right, well, we know something happened because we got the 10 Modus out. So there should still be 5 Modus and 10 Alienus in here somewhere. Now, 5 Modus I don't think will come out because it takes 10 to put in get a vial going. So I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pop one more ender pearl in there. So that should now make it so that there is 20 modus and 20 alienus in there, and we'll see if we can find it. Aha, there we got some alienus. Okay, so now we have 20. Oh, so that's one thing that I had forgotten. So this thing has a yield issue. So 20% of what you put in gets released to the atmosphere as Viz, because this is a low Essentia Smeltery. So we probably did not make 10 alienus with one ender pearl. We probably only made like 8. So now we've probably got partials of alienus and modus in there. But let's double check and make sure. Yes, we got a check mark next to alienus, so that's good. That's going to complicate things because now we have dregs of modus and alienus in there. So we can break the alembics and release it to the air, but I think that's bad. This is a pocket dimension, so if things get nasty here, well then I guess it gets nasty here, and we will tear everything down and move to a new pocket dimension. But that's something that we do have to worry about here. But let's just see if we can bust out the rest. So here, 2 cobwebs are not going to cut it because we're probably going to only get 8 out if we put in 2. But let's start with 2. I'm not sure if the 20% loss is a for sure deal, or if that's a chance of loss. But we do not appear to be able to snag 10 vinculum or whatever the bear trap one is out as I feared. So we're probably going to have to put one more in. And that's unfortunately going to leave us with some bestia in there too. So now we've got vinculum. That is cool. And let's just double check and make sure that this looks right. Yes, 2 down. So now we need to put in a bunch of netherwort to get alchemia and essentia. As it stands now, we've probably got leftovers of 4 different types of essentia in there. So I'm not sure we have a place for the alchemia and the whatever it is, Vitalis or whatever the purple one is, especially since Terra is going to be in there as well. So we might have to break the alembics and let out a bunch of flux and just keep our fingers crossed that we're early enough in all of this process that we are not causing real problems. In fact, I'm just going to do it. Pull that band-aid right off. These are slow. Looks like they probably want an axe. Okay, so there goes some flux. From what I read, this is bad. Releasing it straight from an alembic is not good. But, you know, we got to do what we got to do, right? The problem being we can't actually make pipes yet because we have not done the release the pipe recipes. I double checked and I can't make them yet, so I can't pipe out these little sub bits of stuff. So, you know, it is what it is. So our netherwort's going to give us 3 things. And Originally I was going to try and put 5 in to get 10 of the purple one. Now I know I better put like 7 in, and we'll just deal with it. Deal with it. So now you can see some purple going up here, so we definitely are losing. That's the 20% coming out the top. Hey, we picked up something. All right, there's our alchemia. Good, good. Did we get one of the others? We might have lost more than 20%. I don't know if that's an average or what. We'll try pulling 10 out of there. Nope, no good. I'm going to put one more in there, see if that's enough. There we go. Vidium, that's the purple one. So now, if we take a look at this bad boy, complete. Oh, now we got all these pipes. So now we can get the dribs and drabs out of there without breaking the alembic. And we can make this, which I think will allow us to see what's there. All right, and also, hey, this is complete already. Wonderful. And this is complete already. Wonderful. And that one, I need to go back to the research table. But I only need one more theory alchemy, and I'm getting pretty good at theory alchemy. If you select the Crucible as a research aid, and you feed it crystals that you make by throwing the quartz slivers in the Crucible with the essence, you can bust out some good alchemy theory research pretty easy. So this bad boy, again, it needs a theory alchemy and a thaumium plate. I do have some thaumium, so I can make that. So that'll be excellent. We can very quickly, I think, bust out those two. That's stage 1 of 2 and that's stage 1 of 2. So there might be second parts to this that we have to deal with. This is now open. It also requires some more theory. So I'm going to pause the recording here, and I think we're getting close to probably a runtime, a long runtime on this video. But I'm going to do some more research real quick, see if we can get to stage 2 on these bad boys, just so we know what we're up against. And then hopefully we can tie up most of this and make a much better smelting, Essentia smelting situation for any future Essentia that we need to smelt, so that we aren't polluting our pocket dimension with flux. So I will pause the recording here and do a little bit more theory research on the table and see what we're up against. Be right back. Okay, we got some more research done. Pretty simple, as you can tell from my inventory. I had to pull out some of the crystals that I had already made, and I had to make a few more. Like I made some Aversio crystals in the Crucible by throwing some arrows in, followed by quartz slivers, and etc. So as we can see, we are now got this one finished off, and so now we have access to the Essentia centrifuge. And I think that takes complex Essentia and separates them down to the basic 6. But I can't remember for sure. I'll have to read up on that. So we also got access to the Thaumium Essentia Smelter, which has only a 90% has a 90% efficiency instead of an 80%, and works twice as fast. So that's good. And so we've got access to this, whatever this is, and this, whatever this is. So that's probably good. Between this episode and next, I'll read up on this garbage. But here I got to here, and I was really hoping to get to this too, just so that I could set up a real Essentia Smeltery, with all the proper, transport and all the proper flux vents and etc. But this says it required infusion, so I hopped over to fusion, and I needed. I had the observation and theory, but I needed to smelt a phial of air Essentia, so I just put. Unfortunately, 10 didn't cut it because of our 80% efficiency, but I put 12 in there and was able to squeak out a phial of air Essentia, and I got a feather and a stone, so hopefully we can complete this now. And is that good enough, or do I need to make a runic matrix? Let's go back to alchemy and check. No, we still need to finish out the further stages in this. What are we at? We're at stage 2 of 3. So this should do it. So what is the rune matrix? That is arcane stone bricks and some sort of nitor. And 150 viz cost. Actually, 150 viz cost might be a problem. I put so much stuff through this table that I ran our viz in this chunk all the way down, and it's really recovering very, very slowly since then. It recovers fine up to about 80 or 90, and then it slows way, way down. So I've been, farting around with research and whatnot for the last 10, 15 minutes, and it's maybe gone from, 108 to 125. So I'm not even sure this chunk is currently capable of getting up to 150. I'm not sure if most of the chunks around here are. So just the to create this with a 150 viz cost, I may actually have to make myself some thaumaturgy robes or something that gives me a discount on viz cost. So I do probably have a bunch of broken, let's see, would that stuff be? This stuff. I'll see. Now here we go. So I can probably, let's just grab some of this. It's near the end of the episode, but it looks like this is as far as we're going to get this episode. But let's just run over real quick to the powered anvil and see if it will fix this cloth stuff. It will. Nice. Alright, so that means that I don't know if 30, no, this is like Botania mana weave stuff. That's probably not going to reduce viz cost, is it? I would probably need something like, what does this stuff do? Thaumaturge's robe, viz discount 3%. This stuff, Ender Plate, also has a viz discount. I don't know if I want to be wearing Void Thaumaturge robes with Warping 3. I think that's probably a bad thing. I'm not sure. Thaumium does not appear to have a viz discount. Thaumaturgis robe. This is the stuff I'm probably looking for. So a suit of this stuff, assuming it's cumulative. The shoes are 2, legs are 3, Thaumaturgis is 3. Is there a hat, and does it also have it? There should be a cowl or something with that, I would assume. Bottom line, though, is that I might have to start investigating some of this stuff. And other ways to get a viz discount. Because because I don't think I've seen any of these tables have 150 viz on them for quite some time. I do have another one over here. Let's take a look at this. It's got 132 available. So yeah, if I could get a 10% discount, that's still only going to be, that gets us in the ballpark. That gets us around 135. All right, so that's sort of my goal in between this episode and next, is to investigate viz discounts and to prepare to make, to finalize this infusion thing by getting the runic matrix, the nitor and the crystals and the arcane stone. That's all easy. It's just I got to make sure that I can actually get a table that will pump out a viz cost of 150. So I'll work on a viz discount. I don't know if I can even make that stuff yet. Artifice. Ooh, I should make these goggles. Those are a 5% discount for these goggles, and I could do those. So that's one thing to make. That's right, it's the goggles and then all the robes. The goggles end up being the headpiece, I think, for all the robes and stuff. Yeah. So if I make the goggles and a thaumaturgist robe, what does that take to make? Just a bunch of enchanted fabric, which I can make enchanted fabric. And enchanted fabric, only 100. And enchanted fabric, 100. So yeah, I might go ahead and make these three and the goggles. And that should give us the ability to do that 150 viz cost on one of the tables. And it's also possible that if I just, go watch TV for a while and leave my tables alone for an hour, maybe they'll climb above 132. But that's the plan. The great news is that we made whopping progress today, this evening, with our Thaumcraft. We got all of this stuff open, and my understanding of Thaumcraft has increased by leaps and bounds. And we are now in a position, I think, to actually get somewhere and get some stuff done without Thaumcraft holding us back. I think a lot of this stuff I don't necessarily need. I think the things that I need are mostly going to be open to me now. Maybe, hopefully. Trying to think what else I needed. This recharge pedestal. I need that. I think this workbench charger. So that's part of the big structure that you need to make like the arcane workbench multi-block structure. I'm not sure if I need that anymore though. I should go make this blank lesser focus too. I keep forgetting about that. And that's pretty easy, I think. Yeah, I could do all that. Alright, so anyway, that's what we're doing next time, is we'll keep pushing a little further on Thaumcraft. We'll try and get some of this stuff done. We'll try and finish off this advanced Essentia. We'll try and get some of this done so that we make sure it's not holding us back. I'm not too worried about most of the Golem stuff. Although I might make a brain in a jar because I think that helps. That's a research aid. But yeah, we are about there. Right about there. All right. That's enough babbling. Good night. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.